Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brady Joker here, and well, welcome back to another video. Today, we are going to be counting down my picks for the top 10 worst movies that came out in 2024. Now, I do think that my title is just a little bit misleading because, well, I kind of avoided watching bad movies this year, unlike last year where I went out of my way to watch them just so I can make this list. But this year, I really didn't feel like watching Borderlands or Red One or all of the crappy horror movies that came out this year. So that is why the bottom two movies on this list, I gave them a 3 out of 5. Which, isn't necessarily a great score. That's like a 5 out of 10 for me. But, I would rather call this list the top 10 most disappointing movies of 2024. But, top 10 worst sounds a lot better for the video name and that thumbnail. So we're going to stick with that just for that, clickbait, I guess. But at the end of the day, these are not the movies that I praised during this year. So let's just get started rolling with... Yep, Love Lies Bleeding. This was, it was something. Wasn't really the best movie of all time. It was very fine. Again, there were good things about it. First of all, I think it looked really good. I mean, it's an A24 movie. Of course, it's gonna look nice. It has good colors, good cinematography. It's good. And I think Kristen Stewart, not Dunst, like I said in my December video, Kristen Stewart gives a really good performance here, and she's the only likable character in the entire movie. And everything else is just there. Yeah, this one has pretty much just faded in the back of my mind, and I'm never gonna think about this movie ever again. Just never again. Alrighty, and coming in at number 9, we have Terrifier 3. Again, not an outrightly bad movie like the first two. I think this is the best one in the trilogy. It wasn't the worst thing of all time. Again, pretty mid in my eyes. I mean, it is still basically just art going around being OD, killing everyone in the most gruesome ways possible, but at least this one wasn't, overly long and wasn't edited horribly like the second one, so I'll give it that. And I do think Final Girl, Sienna, I think her performance is better in this one. I think she gets to carry a lot more of the weight on this movie. I think she does better here. And there are still some stupid stuff, and it's still just art killing a bunch of people, and it's still not the greatest thing in the world, but it also isn't the worst thing in the world. All right, number 8, this is where I'm gonna lose some people. We have Wicked. Yes, I think Terrifier 3 is better than Wicked. I'm sorry. Because while I think Terrifier 3, everyone knows it's still just a stupid, fun horror movie that you can have fun with and just laugh at art being this OD. Wicked was something that really tried to be appealing, and it totally fell flat for me. I gave all my reasoning in my what I watched in December, but I'll sum it up here pretty quickly. I think the character work here is really bad, in my opinion. I love the original Wizard of Oz so much. I grew up with it. So I think having to turn, the Wicked Witch sympathetic, and I really hate that. I think giving her a sympathetic backstory I think it diminishes her in the first movie. I think the songs here are incredibly mediocre. Even if they're sung live, they're still just not that great. It's a CGI fest. It didn't work for me on a lot of levels, but it's still, again, not the worst thing in the world. It's like a 4 out of 10, but it's whatever. It's fine. Okay, number 7 is gonna go to one that I'm very surprised at how, quiet this movie came out, it was released, and then it left. And that's Bob Marley, One Love. Do y'all remember this? Y'all remember this? This was like the first movie I watched in theaters this year, and it was bad, man. It was not good. One of my major issues is that sometimes you really just couldn't really understand what the characters were saying because, their accents. So subtitles would have really came in clutch here. It was way too long. It just felt like a biopic. Like, it wasn't interesting. There wasn't even like, you didn't even have Timothée Chalamet in A Complete Unknown with an incredible performance there to back the weight of the film. This was just kind of fine. I totally forgot that this even like happened, and nobody talked about it even when it came out. This was just such a nothing movie that has just faded into obscurity. All right, number 6. I'm gonna lose some more people. Longlegs was just not good, bro. Longlegs was overly long, it was pretty boring, it was kind of stupid, and laughably not scary. Like, genuinely, I think Nick Cage was more goofy in this than he was scary. And I think I would have put it a bit higher on this list if it hadn't gotten so much love when it came out. Like, everyone was raving about how this was like the best horror movie to come out in years. And then I went into it like really excited, really thinking I was gonna love it. And then I walked out and I was like, wow, that was super not cool. Like, that was just like so forgettable. Like, it was like, what? For me, this movie was like how Evil Dead Rise was in last year. Like, when Evil Dead Rise came out last year, like, everyone was like, oh my God, Evil Dead Rise was amazing. Like, this movie was great. And then I watched it and I hated it, man. And I didn't hate this movie, but man, I was super underwhelmed. And I think that adds to the level of where I put this movie on my list. So sorry. All right, number 5, Joker 2, whatever, Joker 2. I was gonna make a separate review on this movie, but I genuinely, I did not have the heart to. I didn't want to. I didn't want to talk about this movie. It made me so angry. They completely ruined everything the first movie was going for. Literally, it's like, it reverses the actions of the first movie. Like, you know how in like the first movie, Arthur, like, you know, he gains his confidence in that final like act. He gains that confidence, he becomes the Joker. Yeah, well, the second movie starts with him being like how he was in the beginning of the first movie. All of his character growth, if that's what you want to call it, is completely erased in this movie. And then the musical numbers were pointless. They did nothing for the narrative except to shine on Lady Gaga singing, which, by the way, Lady Gaga wasn't even that great in this movie. In fact, I think her character was pretty dumb, if you ask me. Totally did a disservice. This was a movie that everyone hated. Even like diehard fans of the first one, such as myself, just didn't like this movie. Like, nobody got anything out of this movie. It blew my mind at how much this missed. And I'm very disappointed. This was easily the most disappointing movie of the year for me. But man, I really wanted it to be good. Like, I really just wanted to see like Joker and Harley Quinn like wreck some stuff and cause mayhem in Gotham, and that did not happen. That didn't happen a single time, except in his mind. Enough said. Actually, no, not enough said, because of that ending. All right, now enough said. All right, number 4, man. This, wow, Trap was not good, man. I really did not enjoy Trap. I found it to be painfully, like, just average and boring and so disconnected from how humans interact with each other. The writing here was so bad. I felt the acting was totally tonally off at times. Like, the first like act of this movie, I thought the main guy here was so off with his acting. It was weird. He really honed it in on that final act, but man, that first act was rough to get through for me. I mean, I do think it's an interesting premise. I do like the concept, and that's probably why I don't like it as much, is just because I really like the concept of this, and it just totally missed for me. I'm just not really a horror movie fan, as I've stated. I think if you can do a horror movie right though, it is easily one of the best things of the year, like Hereditary or Midsommar. I just named 2 Ari Aster movies because Ari Aster is a mastermind. But yeah, man, this thing just really fell flat on its face for me. I can't even really give the whole shebang just wasn't my thing. Number 3, Amelia Perez. Yep, bland, boring. It's dull, it's super misrepresentative, but I'm not gonna touch on that because I'm not a part of either of the communities. I'm not a part of that, but super misrepresentative, hurtful. I mean, that's why those communities are literally speaking out about how this movie is harmful and it is bad, and it completely misrepresents everything. Like, it is genuinely baffling at how this movie is getting nominated and winning for things. Blows my mind. Literally any other movie could have won for Best Picture, musical, or comedy, and I would have been fine. Even Wicked, bro. And I can't believe it. The only positive things I can say is I think the performances are, for the most part, except for Selena, I think the performances are decent. It looks nice occasionally. But then the songs are so pointless. They take all of the emotion out of scenes that could have been very well emotionally driven, and then they just start singing, and it completely ruins all the emotional power in a scene. Also, they're all bad. There's not a single boner jam in this entire movie, and it's just wow. It really just goes, like, I have not seen people lash out on a movie this much during award season ever since I've been keeping up with them. I have never seen this level of hatred for a movie, and you know what? I can't even disagree. This movie sucks. Number 2 is Maxine. As much as I want to put Amelia Perez at number 1 just because of how awful it is as this French director not knowing anything about either communities is trying to focus on, and then it just completely gets it all wrong in a harmful, offensive way. Whatever. It's better than Maxine, okay? Maxine was so bad, bro. Ugh. It was so boring. Because at least things that I can give to X and Pearl, 2 films that, again, I'm not in love with as much as everybody else, I do think they are not boring. Neither of those films are boring. This movie is boring, it is dull, it is a stupid whodunit mystery, and such a stupid reveal. It pained me to finish this movie. That final act was atrocious. Again, literally the only good thing about this movie is Mia Goth, and that is because Mia Goth is awesome sauce, okay? And this movie just, it capped the trilogy off in such an awful way. I hated it. I hated this movie from beginning to end. It was bad. And number 1, Madam Web. Madam Web. Literally just, it's Madam Web. But the only thing I can give this movie that I can't say about any of the other films on this list, basically, is that, you know what? You can have fun with Madam Web. I mean, you can laugh at it with how awful it is. I mean, this is a compliment, but it's not really a compliment. You can just laugh at how atrocious this movie is and how awfully it was made. But it's Madam Web. Everybody, when this movie dropped, everyone, it was a storm when this movie dropped, and I finally checked it out just because people were saying, of all the bad movies that came out this year, watch Madam Web, because at least you can have fun with it. And while, yeah, there were things I had fun with, I was still pretty miserable through most of the movie, mainly because I watched it on my own after midnight, so I was incredibly bored. I didn't even have someone to laugh at it with, which, my bad on, it's my bad on my part. But yeah, still pretty miserable. Very mediocre, bland performances. Not even gonna say anything because I don't need to. It's Madam Web. It is a terrible superhero movie. It is bad. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my top 10 least favorite movies of 2024. Stay tuned. We're gonna be doing my top 10 favorite and the top 10 best of 2024 very soon. Should be out in about a day or two. So yeah, make sure you guys like and subscribe, of course, if you want to. I'm not your dad. I don't care what you do. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, or whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.